Yes, peeps. Welcome back to the channel. How are we all doing? I'm back at the stadium. So, we've got Brighton on Saturday. What does that mean? Well, a few things. I thought I'd come back here, doing my lap around West Ham again. Oh, the irony, eh? Round and round we go. Anyway, where do we start today? So, Brighton on Saturday. Where does that leave us? So much to think about and talk about. Once again, I'm not a pundit. I'm just your average, frustrated West Ham fan. All right, let's talk about Saturday. And let's talk about the press conference that Potter done yesterday. I mean, I'll take my hat off to Potter a little bit because he was just straight talking, and I think any football fan appreciates that. He didn't try to talk like a politician, and we all know the politicians have no idea what they're talking about anyway. It was straightforward, straight talking, and he laid it out for us, and like I said, I appreciate that, and I think any fan appreciates that. But there are a few things in what Graham Potter said that I'd like to talk about with you lot, and tell me if I'm wrong or right. Like I said, I'm just your average fan. I'm not a stat guy, not a expert on the ins and outs of things. I'm just throwing stuff out there. Now, I was glad to hear Potter talking about how frustrated every West Ham fan is. I'm glad he does understand that, because you know, I don't think Lopetegui, even up until the point he was sacked, he truly understood that. I don't know, it's just the feeling I get, right? I also was talking about the bigger picture, and that brought some reality, I suppose, some another perspective to the conversation. He did mention that out of our last 40 games, before he got involved, we conceded 80 goals and scored only 50, leaving a 30-goal deficit. Fair enough, and that leaves fans frustrated, and that also leaves the players frustrated too. And I get that, so he's inherited a pile of shit basically. And yeah, fair enough, Potter, that's a fair point. However, as I was listening to Potter, you still had 14 games, mate, and Potter's won 3. He's drawn 7 and lost the rest. Let me give you some statistics, and I'm not the stat guy, I might be getting this wrong. That means we got a 20% win rate and we lose 50% of our games. Graham, if you're listening, that's shit, mate. Don't have to be a mathematician to work that one out, all right? Just saying. I know you just got here, but just saying. Anyway, now, we've got 7 games left, and I understand every manager needs a chance, but out of these 7 games, including Brighton, it's absolutely imperative that Potter wins the lion's share. And he needs to start with his Brighton game. Because at the end of the day, who knows Brighton better than Graham Potter? Most of his signings are still at the club. It's very similar to when we played Everton. You know, we might as well let Moyes manage that game because he signed most of our players on the pitch, you know. Yet, he wasn't managing the team. You know, I'll let you figure that one out. So, if we are going to beat Brighton, ain't no better man for the job than Potter. Yeah, fair enough, most of his signings are injured, from what I think anyway, but at least 2 or 3 players I'm sure will be on that pitch. But like I said, there's not going to be a manager out there better than Potter to make West Ham beat them on Saturday. I think the next game for Graham Potter is a make or break game, because yeah, you've laid out the bigger picture, and I've laid out how bad your win rate is. And something needs to be done. 7 games left, you need to win most of them. Otherwise, you're just going to go down the same route as Lopetegui did. And with all fairness, I've got Graham Potter, and if we do with the lion's share of the next 7 games, then just maybe we should give him a chance at least. But here's the thing, this club isn't a testing ground for managers. It's not. Just want to make that quite clear. The people who run this club, you can't just get managers in and just hit and hope. We ain't guinea pigs, do you understand? I still believe that what we need to do is we need to get, let's say for example, as someone left a comment in my last video, someone like Mourinho, he's in Turkey, he ain't happy. He's got a, I think, 5 million buyout clause. Buy him out, don't buy any more players. Just have a think about this. Let me know what you lot think, yeah? What do you think Mourinho can do with our crop of players, the ones we got now? What do you think he can do with them? Because I don't believe we need any more players, I really don't. Okay. What I believe is that we need a shit-hot manager. Mourinho would be perfect for the job, actually. Let him come in, keep the players we got, and let's see what happens. Because what I'm worried about is this, let's test out a manager, it's not going to work. And let me explain to you why. Okay. Just like what happened with Moyes, we bought him 300 million odd pounds of players, then we sacked him. Now Potter's coming, and I think we're going to gut the team again. All those signings that we celebrated, we shouted from the rooftops about, Alvarez, Kudus, Paqueta, all of them. Looks like they're all going. So we just wasted 2 seasons buying players that we're just going to sell on. Why did we buy Agard and loan him out? Why did we buy James Ward-Prowse and loan him out? Yeah, we got Soler, so what? I prefer JWP over him. And so what if we got Soler and JWP? Let him sit on the bench for when we need him. That's how we should be thinking, wouldn't you agree? Anyway, so we keep going around this ridiculous strategy of buying players and selling them, and somehow we think getting a new manager in, gutting the team and getting a load more players, it's going to work. What's going to happen if this Potter plan doesn't work for the people upstairs? Guess what? We're going to end up spending the next 2 seasons new manager in and gutting the team again. Around and around we go, just like this lap around West Ham I'm doing right now. So what do you think, guys? Do you think Potter should be sacked if he doesn't win the lion's share of the games over the next 7 games, and we need to buy out someone like Mourinho and bring him here, especially since he's not happy in Turkey? Let me know. What do you think Mourinho could do with the current crop of players we already have? Let me know. Now, this just ain't about Potter. I just want to make that clear. I was watching what Jared Bowen said after the game against Southampton, and it kind of worried me. Also, of course, what Fulkrug said. Let's talk about what Fulkrug said. Fulkrug actually said the players are not doing what the manager wants them to do on the pitch. Now, there's 2 ways to look at that. It's either the players don't respect the manager, or he can't lead, or the players are just doing whatever the fuck they want, or a bit of both. But at the end of the day, if your manager is telling you to do something, but you're on the pitch doing whatever you want, who's not doing their job, the players or the manager? I reckon it's a bit of both. But at the end of the day, a manager is supposed to lead. So the Fulkrug's comments worried me. Also, what Jared Bowen said after the game as well. He said that up until the game finishes, no one should be sitting back. Now, he's the captain. He's going to be seeing certain things that no one else is seeing. And for him to say that, that worried me. Any West Ham player that thinks, you know what, there's nothing left of the season, we're not going to get relegated regardless, what's there to play for? Well, here's my message to you. Any player that thinks, oh, the season's done, well, listen, if anyone feeling that way at West Ham, remember, you're still getting paid your wages. We, the fans, are paying your wages, not for you to sit back and think the season's over. If you don't feel like playing your heart out every single game for the whole 90 minutes for the rest of the season, forfeit your wages, innit? Plenty of good things to give away in East London, loads of poor people, loads of charities, loads of people in need. Go give your wages to them, because we're not paying for your wages for you to just sit back and go for a stroll every time you play for the team. The last time I checked, paid for Premiership players for this team, not benefit scroungers. So any West Ham player that thinks, oh, they'll just sit back for the rest of the season, mate, forfeit your wages. That's my message. Now, on the flip side of that, if all players are being told to leave and we're getting all new players in, how will players play? They're naturally not going to play as well as they should as well. And there's that to think about. And there's also another side to think about. We want to get all these new players in now. We're going to gut the team, apparently, according to all the West Ham YouTube channels. We're going to gut the team and buy a whole new load of players. But there's a question that I think we're missing here, okay? Why is it that players like Onana and players like Duran turned their back on us? They didn't want to come here. They chose Villa. You know, Onana chose Villa and then he chose Everton. What is it that makes this club unattractive to the players we really want? A lot of the signings that we did were not our first options. And the people we really wanted didn't come to the club. Why is that? Is it because players understand that internally the club is fractured, on the pitch we're fractured? And to be honest, you know, we buy and sell players and no one gets to settle in and make an impression. Anyone stop to think about that? So while we're thinking about, rebuilding the squad, we're probably not going to get the players that we want because of that reason. Did anyone stop to think about that? You know, the people upstairs here? So there's all of that to consider. And once again, I'm saying it again, this is not about a squad rebuild. We've got a quality squad. We need a manager that can do something with it. And like I said, this is nothing against Potter. You know, he did his little thing at Brighton, fair enough. But once again, this is not a testing ground. The people upstairs at this club must realise this club is not a testing ground for them. We're not guinea pigs, mate. The people that run this club, if they are serious, the first thing they need to do is get a serious manager, no matter how much it costs. Then we'll start thinking about rebuilding, because what's going to happen, once again, is that We're going to gut the team. Potter's going to buy a whole new load of new players. And when he starts not doing well, we're going to sack him. Then we're going to get another manager and do it all over again. And round and around and around we go. Now, to all you fans out there, yeah, what is your thoughts about what's going to happen on Saturday? As I said, Potter's the only man in the country that can help us to beat Brighton. Of course, I want us to win. The reality is, there's a good chance Brighton's going to beat us. And going by our recent history, we might get a goal, but we're probably going to lose and let them score or draw right at the end again. I'm predicting, because that is all I can do at the moment as a West Ham fan, just wish up on a star, that we're going to beat Brighton 1-0. And I'm just going to think that to stay positive, because, boy, do we need a win, mate. Do we need a win? And does Graham Potter need to turn up that 20% win rate he's got? Because otherwise, like I said, it's just more of the same. On my last video, in a lot of the comments, people were blaming the owners. They're just using this club to make money. Some people even said this ain't even a proper stadium, it's a community centre and all of that stuff. I get all of that, but do you know what? All of that changes. All of that changes if we start winning games, because it doesn't matter where we play. If we win, we win. And I just want everyone to understand one thing. Just because we play well, just because we play well and get a draw, that doesn't mean a win. We've got enough players of quality in this club, not just to win, also to be challenging for cups. We've got that quality. And the only thing that we can pinpoint is that we don't have a manager to bring it out in them. I just don't know when the penny's going to drop. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Potter comes in, buys a load of new players, and we finish somewhere at the top end of the table. Or even better, playing for a cup. When we spent that 300 million, I thought, oh gosh, yeah, definitely. Look at the players we're buying. Definitely we're going to be in some sort of cup. But no, we're just above the relegation zone. Lots to contemplate. I don't really like to make videos like this where it's a little bit of a downer, but I think the more people, especially fans, that make their voices heard, that we're not happy with how this club's being run, then the better it will be, because eventually they're going to have to start listening. And once again, for all the players at West Ham who think, oh, I'll just sit back and, you know, put my feet up for the remaining few games, just leave now, because we don't want you anyway. So yeah, all right, peeps, that's it. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if I got anything wrong, what I got right, whatever. Like I said, I'm not a pundit, I'm not an expert, just someone that truly loves this club. I grew up in its shadow ever since I was a kid. And if you come from where I'm from, this club has a major, major impact on you. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you're new to the channel, like, share and subscribe. And hopefully I can come back here in a much happier mood on Sunday and tell everyone, hey, we won. Potter might be onto something. Until then, peace and love. See you in the next one.